We'll take a few seconds.
Okay. Still wait, or should I get started or?
I'll let you know when.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, you're live.
Okay, welcome to every one of you to the Middleton City Hall. It's a very special day today. You will find out a little bit later. And it is 7:30. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Common Council to order for March 7th, 2023. And the first item is the roll call.
Nairo. Here. Wokus. Ramsey.
Here.
Nelson. Here. Kuhn.
Here.
Bizarre.
Present.
Olson. Here. Crow.
Here.
All present.
And the next item is the public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Anyone who may want to speak at this time, you're welcome. You have 3 minutes. Okay, if there are no takers, we will go on to the next item, which is the presentation. We are very fortunate today. We are going to have presentation from Middleton Cross Plain Area School District referendum presentation from Dr. Dana Minogue.
Great. Brian, you're going to drive for me? Okay. Great. Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me to stop by your meeting tonight. About 6 months ago, I was here before you asking for your support of our operational referendum this past November. And I'm here tonight to express our gratitude for your support of that referendum and to also let you know where those monies are going to be spent. In addition, I have some additional updates that might be of interest to the council and to the community. As I'm sure we can all agree, strong schools mean strong communities. We were hopeful for a successful referendum in November, and we were able to garner 63% of a yes vote. Dane County school systems fared very similarly. So it's wonderful to reside and be in a community that is so supportive of public ed. So I want to talk a little bit about where the $24.9 million will be spent. They really are going towards three main priorities. The first is to maintain all of our academic and co-curricular programs. One thing we pride ourselves on in our school district are the number of opportunities our kids have as they move through our system, elementary, middle, and high. Because of the successful referendum, we are able to maintain all of those amazing programs. The second priority, we're able to get great results in everything we do because of the amazing people who work for us. We employ about 1,700 people. We want to make sure that we keep our employees in our district and very happy to be in our district. So our successful referendum will help us stay competitive when it comes to wages and benefit packages. And then thirdly, the referendum monies will go towards maintenance of all of our facilities. We have 13 different facilities in our district. Some are very old, some are very new. And because we are successful, we're able to maintain our capital improvement project calendar and keep all of our business running smoothly without interruption for students or staff. So our referendum was a 4-year non-recurring referendum, which means we'll have some decisions to make in 4 years' time going forward. And there are a couple of things that we're going to monitor very closely in that time. First is state aid. Governor Evers has put forward a very aggressive pro-public education budget that will now work through joint finance. And we're hopeful because of the large surplus at the state that a lot of that money, some of that money will come to public schools, and we're cautiously optimistic about that. Secondly, we're looking, as you are as well, at our rate of inflation. This year, it is set at 8.01%. We're hopeful that maybe this year is the peak, that we'll see that coming down over the next couple of years. But of course, that has an impact on our overall bottom line as well. And then the third piece is student enrollment. Heading into next school year, we are projecting flat enrollment. However, we're keeping a special eye on our middle schools. So Cromery Middle School, Glacier Middle School, we're at about capacity right now. And if we do have some increases in enrollment, we may have to come back to our community with an ask for a third middle school. And this has been a conversation for some time. We do have land already purchased for that right next to Hope Farm Elementary. So in a year or two, we'll probably kick up an enrollment and a facility committee and planning task force to make those decisions and those recommendations going forward. Want to assure everyone that we, don't take this referendum lightly, and that we continue to be fiscal stewards of taxpayer monies. We are very cautious in all aspects of our operation. We look at all aspects of our budget. We compare ourselves constantly to the other 16 school districts in Dane County. We want to be competitive, certainly, but we also want to be fiscally responsible. We compare ourselves staff-student ratio, administrator-student ratio. We look at compensation packages, benefit packages, et cetera. We're an incredibly competitive labor market in education in Dane County. And so we want to remain the destination district for staff. Just a couple additional updates for you. Our stadium project at the high school campus continues. Phases 1 and 2 of that project are set to be completed June 1st. If you've been by recently, you can see it's actually starting to look like the pictures that we've been showing. And construction will continue as long as we are able to fundraise for that project. Our education foundation continues to be the fiscal steward of the project, and any kind of fundraising information can be found on their website. If you recall, I let you know that the school district was responsible for $2 million of that stadium project cost. We were able to sell 11 of 16 residential lots. And so our contribution to that stadium project has been fulfilled. We're also purchasing a brand new scoreboard at our stadium. In the middle of the football schedule last year, the scoreboard actually exploded. It literally blew up. There was smoke coming out of it. And so we are purchasing a new one, and that will be installed this summer. We continue to struggle with some staffing shortages, bus drivers, paraprofessionals, food service workers. And so we are trying to be as creative as possible with respect to attracting more people to our system. Last month, we actually had an open interview experience that garnered 22 hires. We're very excited about that. We're having another one in April. And so if you know anyone who might be interested in working for the school system, all the information can be found on our website. Always like to brag about our students. Our students continue to thrive both academically and athletically. This past Monday, we were able to honor the boys swim and dive team for their state championship. Our debate team just took first in the state as well. And we'll be recognizing them at our board meeting next week. I'm super proud of everything our kids continue to achieve. As we turn the spring here, we always wonder how many staff are going to retire from our system. There are about 150 eligible folks who could retire at any time. And we always brace ourselves every spring that we might have a large staff turnover. Not going to happen. We only have 15 certified staff members who are retiring and 8 non-certified. And we look forward to recognizing them later in April. So in closing, again, just want to thank you so much for your public support of our referendum and for your support of our public school system. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we are on to the next big project. This is proclamation honoring the Medicine Reading Project. Ron, you want to stand up and at least, well, maybe now or later. So anyway, so we have many folks from the Medicine Reading Project, and we will, I will read the proclamation and we will honor them in a minute. So proclamation, commendation honoring the Medicine Reading Project. Whereas the Medicine Reading Project its founder, Rowan Childs, she's there. Its literacy team and volunteers continues its outstanding work, igniting a love for reading and learning and helping to advance our young people's learning. And whereas the city works closely with Middleton Craft Plain Area School District to support teachers and students to raise reading scores and appreciate the efforts of various nonprofit organizations working together in this effort. And whereas in 2022, the Madison Reading Project in total gave away 110,700 books. Again, 110,700 books just in 1 year to 74,900 children at several district schools, including Cromery and Glacier Creek Middle School, Sauk Trail, West Middleton, Elmont, Poe Farm, Sunset Ridge, Park and Northside Elementary Schools, and Middleton High School. And whereas the Madison Reading Project is a nonprofit 501c3 organization founded in 2014 with a carload of books given to the Salvation Army Family Shelter. This is how a lot of things begins, and now operates through Dane and 8 surrounding counties with funding provided by generous foundations, civic groups, including Middleton Endowment Fund, local businesses, and individual donors. And whereas the Madison Reading Project does not charge for the books given, again, does not charge for the books given, nor for the literacy programs offered at schools, libraries, and social service agencies, or for community visits by its big red reading bus. And whereas the Madison Reading Project and Friends of the Pheasant Branch Conservancy jointly host an annual Books and Bugs and Trees nature event for children and the Conservancy. And whereas several Middleton businesses continue to contribute in-kind donations, host fundraising events, and sponsor community book drives to support Madison Reading Project's mission, and is an enthusiastic community partner and supporter of events held by the Middleton Chamber of Commerce and the Middleton Public Library. And whereas the Madison Reading Project continues to demonstrate its commitment to providing free books and literacy support to our early childhood, elementary school, and high school students in a village effort to achieve shared goals of improving reading skills and growing home libraries. And whereas the Madison Reading Project is currently raising funds, anybody welcome to donate, to purchase a larger, all-inclusive, wider, and longer vehicle with a wheelchair lift. Now, therefore, I, Gurdeep Rao, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, on behalf of the City Council and the city staff, do I hereby commend to the Madison Reading Project for their continued partnership and work to advance our shared goals. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on 7th day of March 2022. Need a motion to approve.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Need a second.
This is,
Start.
oh, go ahead, Luke.
This is Start, I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Let's give these. If you guys stand up. You can all come over here. And well, do you want to say something first?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the proclamation. I enjoyed listening to you reading all of those details. And I've got many of our staff and volunteers and board members with me today. We definitely cannot give away over 100,000 books to children at no cost without many of you helping us do that. And it is truly a village that makes it all happen. And we have a vision to help engage readers of all ages, especially our youngest readers, to continue to be able to really flourish in our community and help build the future. So thank you so much for your support.
Do you want to tell the story, how you started?
Sure. Well, I love reading and I'm a book hoarder. And of course, I would love old children to love reading and to love having books in their home to enjoy. And that was something that really bothered me as a young parent when I realized that that was not true for everybody, and really tried to figure out a way that possibly one person or a group of volunteers might be able to help. And perhaps you only need just a good idea and start telling everybody else those ideas. And over time, that group got a whole lot larger, and we really wanted to provide those exciting books, those engaging books that get kids excited. That is what we're all about, is creating that exciting reading experience so that kids pick up those books. They're excited about them. They want to write their name in them, and they want to take them home and build their home libraries or be in their community center with awesome books or in their classroom with awesome books. And that is truly what all of our staff is so passionate about. And that's why they love coming to work and serving the kids in our area.
So it just started with Rowan, just with her idea. And so I actually visited their place when it was on West Side and also where it's now close to Fitchburg.
Mhm.
And they also were helping one of the Meadow Ridge low-income apartments. They used to come there every month and give the books as well as read to them. They're simply, and you guys want to stand up, all of you, if you don't mind? Let's give all of them
Oh,
a
yeah,
big
they
hand. This is simply amazing. So you want to come over here? Sure.
Can you tell me what to do?
Yeah. why don't you come with this proclamation. So you guys can come here too. From this side.
Okay.
Come in, I want you guys to-
Yeah.
Be reading a book in the background.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Great. Thank you. Over 100,000 books. You know how many books are in our library? Not quite that many. Yes. So that is actually absolutely amazing. So. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep on doing those great things. So the next one is some of you probably heard about. This is the proclamation honoring John Halleck. So I knew John since 2010 for a long time, great guy. So it's really sad, but this is the proclamation honoring the life and service of John Halleck. Whereas the city of Middleton was greatly saddened to hear the passing away of John Nicholas Halleck, chair of the Middleton Airport Commission on March 4th, 2023. Whereas John was born on June 19th, 1951 in Peoria, Illinois. And whereas John was a beloved husband, father, grandfather, and brother, and is survived by his wife, Jamie Halleck, children Eric and James Halleck, and grandchildren Lily, Eric, Ethan, and Hannah Halleck, and brother Nicholas and Mark Halleck. Whereas John built countless businesses in the Peoria, Illinois area, and was one of the inventors of what ultimately became known as customer relations management. And whereas John moved his companies to Madison area in 1999, and also created the Halleck Family Foundation and patient advocacy group, including MET, Crusaders and Biomarkers Collaborative, both of which help cancer patients connect and find the best treatments available. And whereas John was generous civil servant, volunteer, and philanthropist, serving in various capacities in the Middleton Area Development Corporation, the Middleton Airport Commission, the town of Vermont, the Black Earth Children's Museum, and many more. Whereas John was appointed to the Middleton Airport Commission from 2007 to 2010, and again from 2019 to 2023, serving as its chair. And whereas John had a fierce passion for aviation and was instrumental in the development of Middleton Municipal Airport Murrayfield over the last 20 years. And whereas John was remembered for the countless people he impacted in their careers, and his legacy lives on forever through MET, Crusaders, and Biomarkers Collaborative. Now, therefore, I, Gurdeep Brar, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, on behalf of the City Council and City staff, do hereby honor and celebrate the life and service of John Nicholas Halleck and provide our deepest condolences to his family. This proclamation was adopted at a regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 7th day of March 2022. Is there anybody from the family here? Probably not. Do we need a motion to approve? Or?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve with two
Okay.
minor corrections.
Okay.
In paragraph, I think scroll up when Lily, at the very top of the page should be capitalized next to Eric. And then also it's the 7th day of March, 2023.
Okay.
This is,
Okay.
this is, those changes.
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. I was really shocked. I mean, I had known him. He was very passionate about what he believed in. So it was really sad. So, but I guess that's life. Okay, we go to the next item. That's the approval of the consent agenda. And it has two items. Approval of the February 2022-23 Common Council meeting minutes and audit of bills to be paid as approved by the Finance Committee.
Mrs. Alder Kuhn will make that motion to approve.
Need a second?
Ramsey, a second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Thank you again, and keep on doing those great things which you are doing and making a difference. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, then all those in favor of the motion for approval of the consent agenda, which is the Common Council meeting minutes for February 22nd and audit of the bills as approved by the Finance Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to item number 1. This is a routine thing, termination of the city developer agreement. This is the Tribeca Drive extension. So the road has been built and we just want to do this routine thing. Need a motion to approve.
This is Pizarro. We'll make a motion to approve.
This is Wilkus, I'll second.
Okay, any questions? Or Sean, do you want to say anything?
Only if there are questions.
Any questions for Sean? It's very routine thing. So, okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the termination of city developer agreement of Tribeca Drive extension, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 2. This is the facility use agreement between the City of Middleton and the Middleton Gators Swim and Dive Incorporated for use of the Walter R. Bauman Aquatics Center. Need a motion to approve.
This is Nairo. I'll move approval as recommended by the Finance Committee.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion to approve the facility use agreement between the City of Middleton and Middleton Gators Swim and Dive Incorporated for use of the Walter R. Bauman Aquatic Center, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to miscellaneous, and this is item number 1. This is the solid waste collection service discussion and direction on the contract extension. This is Pelletary. So Sean, you want to go ahead and take it?
I got tripped up on this last time. So just brief introductory remarks. I think the staff comments and the Public Works discussion and action speak for themselves, but we're approaching the end of our contract period at the end of this calendar year. And so I think policy-wise, we have a couple of choices before us. Number one, the option I was recommending, and that was endorsed by the Public Works Committee, is to extend the contract with Pelletary for, I think it would be another 7 years with an option to extend that to 10 years. And the contingency was if prices are acceptable, right? And the reason we don't have a full proposal with full prices right now is if instead the council wants to make a policy decision to go out for proposals, I would feel much better if we didn't paint a target on Pelletary's back by putting those prices out there now. If the council's option is to go with requests for proposals, it would be helpful to me if you could give me some feedback on what service level and any other factors you'd want considered that we should be seeking proposals for. I recall in 2010, I want to say it was, really 2008, when we started the process and we converted in 2010. We went through several drafts and iterations of proposals, and there was a lot of hardship and hurt feelings all around on the side of bidders. So I think that's the short version, right? We have the recommendation from myself and Public Works Committee to extend the good thing that we've got going. And the option, of course, is to get different proposals from folks who are out there. But then I'd want to know what we value.
Yeah, I get started. I agree with Sean. So I remember when we actually did accept Pelletary, and I remember those discussions too. So I like to hear from every one of you that if you have any problem, if you have heard the complaints from your constituents, or if you are unsatisfied, so we can start from. Well, Lisa, we just go in the from this to west to east. So
This is just discussion. Well, I have no problems with Pelletary. I was kind of hoping Joe was going to be here because he spoke.
Hold on a second.
Joe wasn't able to make it a conflict.
You want to come on?
Well,
we have one of these.
Joe spoke on one of our sustainable use.
So not the Joe. So what's your
recycling.
name, sir?
Yes. Good to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris June. I'm the sales manager at Pelletary. So
Yes. Okay.
Great. So
yes,
Chris,
we had a conflict of meetings tonight. so-
Sure. Well, I can ask you my questions that I had for Joe. Okay, so a couple questions. One, I downsized to the, I guess it's the 65 gallon bins, and I noticed in the proposal, Sean, I'm guessing you asked about making that, what's the benefit of making that the default or the standard? And the response was, probably keep the bigger ones as the standard because someday we might have composting, and with that composting collection, maybe the waste collection would go to every other week. So my question is, one, when might we have composting?
That's a great question. It's $1 million question. So we, from the trucking side of our business, we're ready. Ready for the infrastructure to be in place. So fortunately, being in Dane County, the Dane County has in the works the biodigester and some other plans out at their facility. How that all looks yet, I think is still in different phases. So we're unsure if when that infrastructure is there that we can collect the organics, we would be happily able to do that on the trucking side.
Okay, because I noted in the memo, it mentioned that we were the first municipality to entrust Pelletier with the fully automated curbside trash and recycling collection. And I can tell you, we'd love to be the first municipality to entrust you with a municipal composting program. And that is part of our comprehensive plan, is to have a composting pilot. And I just had a resident who's newly moved here from Ann Arbor ask why we don't have composting. So I passed that along. And then one thing I would love to see, going back to the size of the bins, I think it would be nice to offer people, I know it's at only 25% have the smaller bins. I think that's because it's not very convenient to exchange the larger bin, which they both take up a lot of space in a garage. I think if we were to build this into our service agreement, to maybe have like one time during the year when residents can downsize for free, not upsize, but downsize for free. I bet you would have more people take advantage of it. I think I paid to have the bins delivered because they were just too big to fit in my car. I don't have a truck. So that's just something I would like to see considered, and what the cost might be to offer that service, just one time a year downsize. Thanks.
If we do have people downsize though, what do you do with the bins that you take back? I mean, do you have another use for them, or are we better off to wait to start downsizing when these wear out and then we're using them to their life expectancy then?
Sure, we'll bring them back to our shop, and assuming they're still in usable condition, we'll clean them and use them as inventory.
Kendra? I mean, how happy are you? So, or if you have any questions, concerns,
I've
anything?
not heard any complaints from constituents. We had a good discussion at the Public Works Committee regarding Pelletier's service and the changes in garbage collection over many decades and how different it is now. And, my parents are always amazed that we have an automated truck that picks up and dumps. They live in a community in Iowa of about the same size as Middleton, and they still have garbage people that come and grab the bin and dump it in. So, I think it's a pretty impressive track record. We did have some conversation about the composting, and we're informed that it's basically just a when. So I'm in favor.
Okay. Elder Ramsey?
I too have not heard any complaints. I like your service. It's very good. So as far as having you prepare a rate schedule for us, I'm good with that. However, I need to see rates. So before I'm willing to say, yes, bring us a rate structure. We won't put it out, bring us a rate structure, but I need to see rates before I can agree to any contract.
I haven't heard any complaints about your service either. As Kendra said, I really like the automated pickup. And as Lisa said, I look forward to composting. So no complaints.
So I will ask you a couple of questions. Well, it's my turn now. So going in the order. So I thought you have three sizes of those containers. I have the neighbors who have really little ones, and then we got some in between, then you got the huge ones, 95, right? So they all are going to stay as they are, right? So those who have the little one, they will still get to keep them, right?
Yeah, the plan was not to change any cart sizes as part of the proposal.
Okay. So the main complaints which I had gotten from the constituents is that it depends from your driver to driver, that when they take it and put it back, sometimes that the lid is not closed. And so that was the main thing, which, and I also noticed that when I was walking to the city hall, so I could see, in many cases, I will just close them when I'm just walking. Doesn't make such a big difference, especially if it was going to rain. So if you could just, your drivers do a great job. Sometimes they're in a hurry, but that is the main complaint which I have heard. So, okay. Emily.
Awesome. I just want to share that in my district, we have a lot of new families that have moved in during the pandemic and before that. So if there are some best practices, we need maybe an annual reminder on, we're about to get a communications specialist, so we can always do, especially for Earth Day, remember to sort properly. Maybe start your compost now for
Yeah.
future. But if there are some best practices, please pass them on.
I can just add to that. On our website is very comprehensive. We have 22-ish videos on there of recycling tips.
Okay,
And
I'm
that
impressed.
soon to be more. They're actually going to be doing some additional filming this week. So all of our recycling lists and acceptable materials and best practices are on there in addition to that.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
I'll only add to that, Emily, if you're passing that along, you can stress to people, these videos are like 1 minute.
Okay,
So
good
it's
to know.
not a big time investment. Yes.
It's appreciated. Yeah, I was on it recently because my dumpster actually got worn and had a hole in it. And so I called Pelletary and they swapped it out. They did a great job. So that's what they do, I guess, with Dan, with those extra inventory. They take care of folks like me. So thanks.
I'm old enough to remember the switch from biweekly to weekly for recycling, and that was a godsend for many people. And so that was really the only, I hate to even use the term complaint, but maybe recommendation that I ever heard amongst my neighbors. And I would say, in particular, given the alleyways in my neighborhood of Hidden Oaks, that your drivers do a very good job of maintaining, staying off people's yards, because they can be a very narrow way for them to go. So I would just say kudos. And everyone with whom I speak is very, very happy with the service.
Thank you. Elder Kathy?
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints with it either, but one up that I remember when they were first doing the contract and they wanted everybody to have size cart possible. And we have a 1-car garage, very tight. And it was nice that they were able to come to allow the smaller carts if requested. So I really appreciated that. So.
Elder Crow.
And I have not heard any complaints either. Other than things that I've noticed too, like the mayor said about, when the lids don't close, I don't know if that's something that drivers can actually do. I know it depends on how they get set down on the curb or edge of the driveway or whatever sometimes. About the only other thing is the stray piece of garbage in the street after you can always tell when garbage has been picked up, I guess. And I don't know if there's anything to do that can be improved with that. I've gone out and picked up neighbor's garbage sometime that's in front of my house, but that's about it. Otherwise, I think the service has been good. You guys are always there getting stuff done. So that's good.
So I agree with Elder Crow that sometimes, they accumulate that thing and then they pour into the larger container, and it's amazing they do in front of my house. And I get to go and pick up a lot of that stuff, but I guess I agree with so if they could be a little bit more careful, that would be nice. So now you can see we're happy. So when you come to your rates, let's make sure that you don't just jack them up, because, we are happy with the kind of rates that you have now. And, maybe you need a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. So, okay, any other comments? We don't need any motion on this one, or do we?
I really was looking for a sense where the council's at before asking for a proposal that has prices in it. So I understand we're not trying to take action or approve any sort of contract tonight. I just, again, wanted to approach this with some caution, because if we wanted to go the other route, I really don't want that document here.
Great job, Sean. And great job.
So we'll get a proposal. We'll bring that back.
Okay. Katie,
Finance committee.
you have some.
No, I just wondered if there was a motion needed. If so, I was going to take Sean's option.
Okay,
I think I'm sensing a fair comfort level here.
it's unanimous. Everybody's nodding their head. So, okay, well, go forward. So,
Good enough. Thanks.
and make sure that don't jack it up. So, well, what's yeah, and I know. Oh, thank you, Sean, and thank you, Chris. Okay, we are on to the next miscellaneous item. This is the 2023 proposed fee schedule for Middleton Aquatic Center. Need a motion to approve, I would imagine.
This is Olson. I'll make that a motion to approve as recommended by finance.
Need a second.
This is Fazard, I'll second.
Okay. Well, anybody have any comments, or Kylie, you want to say anything? Otherwise.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we can get a recap from the finance committee discussion because there was some changes to what was
Yes.
in our packet.
Absolutely. Go ahead and let's have a recap.
So the few changes that were in the made at finance were that the 10 punch pass was $50 instead of the 55 that was presented to create a discount for that. And then also all of the water park rental rate, or all the water park rental fees were crossed out. And so that isn't being presented as a fee option for tonight's meeting or common council to approve.
Is that the only change?
Those are the only changes.
So your regular rate was $5 or $5.50 for each swim, or what was it? So it's $5.50. So, okay. So, and that's an only small discount, right? So for the 10 passes, is that what it was in the past too, or is that what you think is the best way to go?
So I was just answering the question of the changes from finance
Yes, yes.
meeting to common council.
Yes.
But the question I think you're asking is what changes are made from 2022 to 2023?
Yes.
There are raises to some of those daily admission fees as outlined in the memo and the spreadsheet that's provided. Some of those fees that are raised are the daily admission fees. And then we also have some of the season pass fees raised by $5. We do have a lower rate that's recommended for the non-resident family pass. And this was just all of these fees were evaluated throughout the Dane County pools as well. So just taking a look at all of those fees and that fee structure.
Questions for Kylie?
I have a question. I just
Sure.
noticed now, Kylie, why are the resident and non-resident daily admission fees the same when for season passes and, well, I guess just the season passes, we have quite a larger fee for non-residents?
So all of the fees for the season passes are all available to purchase online for 2022, Rebecca had come with a memo to get rid of all of the different fees for seniors, adults, residents, non-residents. And that was meant for efficiency at the pool when people come to the pool and it's hard to identify, oh, what age are you? Or are you resident, non-resident with driver's license and the zip code? It becomes really difficult to actually identify a resident, non-resident and have them actually present that.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And I might be mistaken for a teen instead of a senior.
You might get the parent talk.
More questions?
I have a question for you, Kylie, and I appreciate your response to my email from earlier today. And specifically, I had asked about senior and veterans rates as there is no indication, and she had responded with the information she had just shared. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the lap swim program and if that is a place that we could provide perhaps some discounts for the seniors and the veterans that might use that. I'm guessing it's separate from open swim times.
Yeah, there are lap swim times. I think to better take a look at those fees, I'd like to operate at one fee level for this upcoming season and then really take a look at those numbers and figure out where we're at as far as how many users for lap swim. We're already making kind of a large change with our lap swim program from last year to this year, where we're having open lap swim and not doing registration for every person for every lane, and having people share and utilize that space collectively.
Yeah, moving away from the COVID protocol kind of
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Could you also just quickly talk about parent and tot and this res group rate that are newly added?
Yes, so the parent tot, we already opened for lap swim at that time, and we're only open in the deep well. So I'm looking to increase revenue by opening the shallow end for parent tot, which is primarily for under ages 3. So that can be a time that's just a little bit more low key for families to come in and just splash around in the 0 depth area, just to maximize our space and revenue. So I'm going to be adding that program in.
That's great. What about the res group use rate?
And we have a lot of groups that like to utilize our, so that's resident groups from the Middleton community that would be coming in as a group. So school groups, summer camps and things of that nature, utilizing so that we can, that will be an online process, or we have a paper form. We're looking at implementing for this upcoming season. It'll be so we can get all their information compiled, and then we have a master calendar where we won't overbook groups, so we can work a little bit better with our staff in our capacity.
I think that's great. I think that's one of the complaints that I've heard from people, is that sometimes it gets a little inundated there with groups that come in. And so if there's a way to balance that calendar where it's not, it's a little bit more welcoming for the drop-ins.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Thank you for thinking of that.
More questions. So what was your answer to Kendra's question about seniors and vets? Do they get any discount, or they just, where is it?
That was a discount in previous years. We're looking at making fees when people come to the door a lot more efficient. Something that we can definitely take a look at in future years as we're able to analyze the data this upcoming season. We have 2 new staff overseeing the facility and able to just understand those numbers a little bit more. And then I think that there's opportunity to program for that age and make it a really inclusive facility by offering programs such as Grandparents' Day. Grandparents get in free if they bring their grandchildren. So just trying to program and be really inclusive for in that way for this upcoming season, but we can continue to evaluate those fees.
Well, and I'd like to emphasize that when we're talking about seniors, it's not just for kids. Like, it's not, I'd like to emphasize that we are a community that has people that don't have children around.
Yeah.
And I think that to really emphasize the use of our facility as a community center, it needs to really have programs for everybody, whether they be families or singles or seniors or vets or anyone. So
I really like that idea, and I could even see, this being advertised in the senior center newsletter, to have that connection. Just to let the other members know, so finance did recommend it. I voted no, and I'll do so again because I feel a couple things. One, we raised rates last year, and we raised taxes, and I'm just concerned about, continuing to increase. I recognize inflation has gone up, fees are going up, so I get it, but I feel like I wanted more time to consult with my constituents and see how this was going to impact them. But I recognize that we need to make a decision tonight. And then also I'm very concerned about the impact this is going to have on families, especially those who are experiencing housing and food insecurity. And I look forward to working with Kylie on creative ways to make sure that those folks don't get left behind.
And you probably noticed that Kylie used the word revenue, fees, was quite generous and the use of those 2 words. So let's also include more on service, revenue and service. I'm just kidding. So, but we do need revenue, but we also need service. So I think let's focus on both things. Any other questions or comments?
This gives you a baseline, right, Kylie? So that, because you've talked about looking at numerous different things over the course of this season. So, and this is your first year. So you use this as a baseline and you go back and you can count the number of seniors and kind of figure out where you can fit pieces in. Is kind of how I'm seeing this. Is that your understanding?
Yes, and also just with our operating costs continually
Sure.
increasing, I think we need to take a look at how much how much you guys would like to subsidize for that facility and operations. And that's where I want to try to come up with a little bit more of that revenue to cover the expense. For this year, we had what we have budgeted for this upcoming year. We didn't, is the same as 2022, or very similar. So, and we didn't even hit that in 2021. So that's where I'm looking at making a smaller incremental change to even hit that.
Any other questions? Kathy, you have something? So, well, I don't swim, so so that's why I don't know, my wife does, but so what we do want to do is to make it just like everything else, very inclusive. So even in Middleton, there are a lot of people who can't afford it, so let's be good to them. So, okay, all those in the favor of the motion to approve the 2023 proposed fee schedule for the Middleton Aquatic Center, including various modifications, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
No.
motion passes 7-1. We are on to the ordinance. This is the second reading. This is the ordinance for rezoning lands from agriculture to planned development district, general implementation plan. This is the Red Tail Ridge, also called acre farm development. Anybody wants to say anything, Abby or anyone, or should we go with the motion?
I had one, looking at the, Brian, if you could bring up the memo that includes the motion. Well, I'll just read it's on page 2 of the memo. And it says the developer should direct all this is new wording.
Yep.
The developer should direct all contractors not to use Pheasant Branch Road in the city of Middleton as a haul route. I like that wording. I assume haul route means nothing heavy is going to be transported during construction. The two things I would note, though, is that technically is that it's not all the city of Middleton, because there is that small little stretch of land that's still Springfield. Plus, if they go north, it would be on Springfield. Anyway, I think just indicating should not use Pheasant Branch Road is plenty. But then also I noted that earlier in one of the bullets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th bullet on the preceding page, it says a developer shall. And I really would like to see it say the developer shall direct all contractors not to use. Those are the two changes I would make to that. I appreciate that being in there because I know that was a concern to a lot of folks in my district.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With that contingency, if they don't use pheasant at all, does that mean everything goes on high road?
Yes.
So what we're saying is we want all those trucks on a high road going past, every single one of them, going past the elementary school? Is that what we're saying?
That is a better road
I
than
can't agree with that.
Pheasant Branch.
So this is how I was thinking, that they will go Highway Q and then Balzer.
They could do that.
Is that
That would be the best way to go.
That's what I was thinking, not the high road. But is there something that we could do, Abby, or Sean, to make that happen?
I mean, we can tell them to do that. I do feel that this is going to be difficult from an enforcement standpoint. I think the trucks are going to want to use the easiest route. So this may be a matter of reminding them throughout construction. This was included in the zoning. I don't know if Matt wants to weigh in on how we would be able to enforce this.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
You got to earn your keep now, so here we
Well,
are.
I'll go out there and keep an eye. Oh, I mean, I think you've hit it on the head. It's, unless you dedicate some enforcement resources, I think the best you can do is let them know where you want them to go and, keep reminding them. I mean, but at the end of the day, how many times is it going to happen and how many times you have to catch them before you're actually going to be able to put together some kind of enforcement case.
If it were a multifamily project that has a construction timeframe of 12 months, it would probably be a lot easier than this development, which is going to be phased out over
Right.
5+ years. But, you know, if we have it as a contingency, we can continue to remind them, but I just think it will be difficult from an enforcement standpoint.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So Matt, is it okay to put that in there when you can't enforce it?
Oh, I didn't say you can't. I said it's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
And-
yeah,
and-
okay.
And certainly there's nothing wrong with providing the direct, I mean, you may get quite a bit of voluntary compliance. So I definitely think it's important to have it in there to express what you want to see happen.
But Elder Ramsey does have a point. You wanted going close to the elementary school.
Yeah, I'm
Well-
not fond of the heavy equipment going past the elementary school. Look at the number of houses that are along High Road that they're gonna have to go past as opposed to the number of houses that there are on Pheasant Branch Road. I mean, it's Pheasant Branch Road isn't the only road in the city. I just don't know how you can say you can't use that road and let's push them all to a road where we have an elementary school, because that's gonna be the default. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'm not in favor of that contingency at all.
Well, it's not like they're going to be driving through the elementary school. I mean, it is going to be, I mean, we do have other traffic that goes on that road. I just see a lot of trucks traveling on Pheasant Branch, especially in the area where it's supposed to be 20 miles per hour going around very windy curves. I just see that as hazardous. I also see it hazardous to the people who are trying to cross either the path or Whittlesey, cross Pheasant Branch Road with a truck coming down the hill, unable to brake properly. So
Well, and I see as a hazard of kids walking across High Road, getting back and forth to school, which we encourage the kids to walk from Middleton Hills and from the surrounding neighborhood. So, I mean, you have two sets of contingent constituents there. And I'm certainly not in favor of putting our most vulnerable, the youth, at a higher risk. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Zero sense.
Mark Opitz is on the Zoom meeting, had his hand up.
Mark Opez, go ahead, please.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you. I worked with Sean on the language to call it a haul route, no hauling on that route, I guess is what we called it. So that's the origin of the term. The thinking with Pheasant Branch Road is that it's a very narrow road and, you know, it's not a standard width road. And so that was one of the concerns that we were trying to address in the city's portion. The reason we said the city, or why I suggested the city, is because I thought there might be vehicles approaching from the north, from Balzer Road and from Highway K along Pheasant Branch Road. So that's why I specifically phrased it the way it is phrased. Just wanted to give that background.
thank you, Mark. Then I'm okay with the city of Middleton language, but I do still recognizing that enforcement on the contractors is something we cannot we can't enforce. But I do still think it should say the developer shall.
So is it really important to have that language in there?
Well, it's in there, I guess, from last time. This was a
Wait, was there
discussion
last
point.
time, Abby? or-
No.
This was an ad from the discussion during the first reading. So the changes are the ones that are showing in red in the packet. And this was a brand new bullet point from
Yeah.
the discussion at the last meeting.
I think I did notice that. Well, input from other elders. I mean, you can't, having all the traffic on one road. So, and when the high road, when it comes to the part which is, once you go down the hill, it's just equally narrow. My concern would be that when you have those, the heavy things, they got not the tires, the other structure, they're going to tear up the roads, right? So how are we going to handle those ones?
And High Road was just recently repaved not that long ago because it used to have, for folks who can remember, it was kind of bowed because it had been getting so long that the people only could drive in the middle, which made it very difficult. And I know Sean and his team did a phenomenal job of repaving it, but I believe it was more viewed as kind of more of a temporary solution rather than a long-term one as well. So yeah, I'm worried about the wear and tear on that road by diverting additional traffic on top of it. And there was a walkway for kids to be able to cross High Road
Yep.
that we had to move because of a unfortunate incident where a child was struck outside of Cromery by a vehicle. And I know that many of the parents in Misty Valley were upset or concerned about their children crossing High Road without it. And so we've got to be cognizant of that to the point of Alder Ramsey.
That crossing is back.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think that it was always a very tenuous crossing, given the kind of the slope and the fear that traffic wouldn't be able to be seen coming from both directions.
Well, on the intersection at Century and High Point is not exactly, with the left turns that happen there, it's not a great intersection to begin with. I'm wondering, can we include language to encourage it not to use either road and try to direct them to go north?
I think I like that one, using the Highway Q and Balsa Road. That's what that should be. Sean, you are a wise guy. You have been doing these things for a long time. Let's hear from you.
Balder only goes over to Parmenter, doesn't it?
Right. So our by ordinance, our designated truck routes are any county, state, or federal highways. Beyond that, we in our ordinance say, well, trucks can of course operate on any local street. That's the closest available route to get to a truck route. So part of it comes down to where are they trying to get? Some of it comes down to what degree can we ask them of our preferred route, but that's not going to be the town's preferred route, right? So we might as well be upfront about, nobody wants a parade of trucks driving in front of their house or in front of a school or on a hilly, curvy, narrow road. Nobody wants that. Part of it is we don't know how many trucks they're going to need in these first few phases, what their earth balance is. It's entirely possible they'll do most of their earth moving within the bounds of their subdivision, just outside of phase one someplace. So I don't know how many trucks we're talking about yet. That said, if it comes down to my preference, pushing them to a town road, to a county road, sure, that'd be nice from a city perspective. But we have very few north-south streets in the city of Middleton, right? And if I were a truck driver, and frankly, if I were a citizen driving next to or passing these trucks, I'd prefer to be in the high road environment than the Pheasant Branch Road environment, just because it's a better built road and it's a wider road.
So how about if we just leave that out? Would you?
We can, as much at the staff level, have that conversation, I think, even without council direction, because they'll mean about the same thing to a developer anyway. They want to understand our wishes and do the best they can to get this built that satisfies our needs in their own economic interest and with a route that makes sense to where they're trying to haul things.
So how about moving those cranes with those chains? I mean, those are the ones really damage the roads. So they probably would need those as well, right?
Well, those need to be transported on a trailer.
Oh, okay.
They can't really drive those on a road.
Okay. So that's good.
Okay, so that we can move this along. What I'll do is I'll make a motion to approve the second reading with all the contingencies, with the exception of this direct all traffic away from Pheasant Branch Road.
Okay, need a second.
This is Fazard, I'll second that.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor.
You can make a.
Yeah, can I make an alternative, what's it called?
Substitute motion.
Substitute motion to approve it as written.
This is all review now. I'll second that.
Okay, now further questions or comments? So we will be voting on a motion to approve the ordinance rezoning lands from agriculture plan development district general implementation plan for Red Tail Ridge Acre Farm development as proposed. Okay, so maybe we should have a roll call vote. Brian or Lori, you want to do it?
We're voting on the first motion.
We're voting on your substitute
The
motion.
substitute motion. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the substitute motion, so.
Nairo,
Aye.
Wolkus,
Aye.
Ramsey,
No.
Coon.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I went out of order. Nelson,
Aye.
Pizarro,
No.
Olson,
No.
Crow.
Aye.
So
Okay. 4-4.
is it 4-4 or
5-3.
5?
Oh, shoot, yeah, I can add.
Looks like. Well, the
1, 2, 3. Oh, I was
motion
thinking, I
passes
don't know what I was
5-3 and tell the developer, be very careful. So be very, very careful. All right. We are on to the item number 2 here. This is the ordinance relating to remote meeting by boards, committees, and commissions. And this is the second reading. And even before we begin, I do want to apologize that the last time when we were reading this, I looked only at the red highlighted part. I did not see the part which was, I didn't look at the section, item number 3, section 2.035J. And so which includes 5 other things. And I did ask Matt, and once I read, I absolutely was probably livid or very unhappy. Well, I should have read it, but I just read only the red things. So what is being proposed, and I asked Matt if he knows any other city, village, town in Wisconsin, and he doesn't, well, he didn't think that he did. So what this is going to do is that any committee can be, they can say, this month we are meeting in person, and the next month they can say, well, we are meeting virtually. And even just a chairperson can make a decision, okay, we are doing this. So this is absolute chaos. This is the absolute chaos one could ever think of. And as a city, we need to have a uniform policy. If this is the policy, well, I would have very difficult time, to be able to sign this. I think it's really not what it should be and what the city has been doing all these years of existence since 1963. This is simply outrageous. COVID-19 is not there, and we have to start meeting in person, period. So that's where I stand, and this is just completely unacceptable to me. So
This is Fazard. Make a motion to approve.
This is Nelson. I will second.
okay, any questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I can support this. I've said all along, I feel like council and the committees that are made up of only council members should be meeting in person. But I think it's fine to allow other committees to meet remotely or in hybrid fashion. I actually think it would be important for the committees that choose to meet in person to also have some sort of remote component so that their meetings are recorded, because not all meetings are being recorded now. I do wonder though, and I appreciate Matt adding or striking the with or without a video component. The one concern I have is, how do we know that if the committee members are not required to have their video showing, how do we know they're actually there and not just there for quorum purposes? Maybe they've stepped away from the discussion. I see this as a openness and transparency issue. And so I would be in favor of if not in the policy itself, then in the handbook and the orientation for committee members to make it very clear that the expectation is they would have their video on.
Yeah, we could certainly go either route. I mean, on the one hand, this wouldn't be all that different than, allowing somebody to appear by phone, which has historically happened. Although, to be fair, not to the extent that it may now. I mean, we're definitely much more attuned and used to the remote meeting, and I would expect this to be used much more often. So, I can certainly go either way, but if it becomes an issue and we feel that we need to have it enforced more by ordinance, it's certainly something that can always be added. So add it now or add it later. It doesn't.
And I thought that at our last discussion with the first reading, I thought that we had agreed that we were adding it now.
Yeah.
So that there wasn't any question. And in talking with some staff members, they're already trying to talk to their various committees about the fact that you need to be on camera. It's, I said at the last meeting when we discussed this, if we're going to go down this route, I like you, there's some validity to it and I can understand that. But if we're going to go down this route, come on, the least common denominator is have your camera on. I mean, that I don't know why we would accept anything less than that. So I think you might as well add it now.
So, Matt, so in the past, people could call and they were not counted toward the quorum. So
that's true.
That is, I don't know if their vote was counted either. So this is what you have here is if somebody calls remotely for whatever reason.
The old rules were if you called in, you couldn't count as a
Yep.
quorum unless there was a physical quorum and then you could vote.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is we've spent however much money we spent getting this new video system and the Zoom and everything else. What we're saying is those were the old days and this is the new days, and we all have Zoom capability and we all have telephones that have camera capability. I don't think it's too much to ask for anybody to just be on their camera. That's just
It's
least
okay.
common denominator.
Yeah, that's okay. So now if we were to pass this one, so that means you can have committees meeting for years and the folks will never meet each other. I mean, they can meet remotely and that's it. Right, Matt?
Mr. Mayor, I see your concern. I really do, because I joined the Sustainability Committee during the pandemic, and I don't think to this day I have actually met in person all the members of the Sustainability Committee. So, my own preference would have been to resume in-person meetings as soon as we could, but I recognize that is not everybody else's preference, and people have valid reasons for not wanting or not being able to meet in person. I know on the Water Resources Management Commission, we have a member who would not be able to attend the meetings because he has obligations at home, and we all respect that and want to accommodate him. So I'm okay with, I agree with Alder Ramsey. I too thought we had agreed on this, but then I thought, well, maybe I misread and we weren't all on the same page. But I would like to add a sentence before the one that says remote meeting or attendance is subject to the following. I was supposed to say remote meeting or attendance. I guess so. Before that sentence, I would like to have an addition saying something like all committee or all members of committees, commissions, or boards, however you want to phrase it, Matt, must have their video showing at all times during the meeting.
So Lisa, to answer your question, that if one or two or three people, we have a hybrid meetings, they can actually,
right.
be
Well, and
participating remotely. That's not a problem at all.
thank you for mentioning that, because where I was going with this originally was I still would like to see, I don't think it needs to be built into the policy, but I would still like to see each committee schedule, and this could be in the handbook or the orientation, schedule an in-person organization meeting so that they can meet each other face to face, maybe even socially. I think that would be really a good idea. And that would have been great with the sustainability committee. But I don't think, I mean, I really think Zoom meetings they aren't even the future, they're the present, and we need to embrace that. 2 weeks ago, or at our second meeting in February, I was thinking this would have been a good time to participate on Zoom because the weather was terrible. So, you know, I think I understand your concern, Mayor. I hear you, but I'm okay with this. And as long as we add the sentence saying that video needs to be on.
Okay, any other?
I'll accept that
Yeah,
amendment.
I'll accept that modification to my motion.
Point of clarification, can you again just say where you want that sentence added?
Before, I think it makes sense before the one that says remote meeting or attendance is subject to the following. Or you could add it as a number.
I was actually thinking
number
maybe, well, I was gonna, that seems to be a more preliminary sort of thing. So I was thinking of making this a new number 2 and renumbering everything else. And I don't know if we need to say anything more than each member appearing remotely shall have their video on. Doesn't
You
seem
want to
quite.
make those changes? and bring it back at the
Have
next
video
meeting?
engaged. Or just simply turned on.
Appear via video or appear.
Video.
Yeah.
Shall have video operating. And
At all times.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if someone needs to get up and leave for whatever reason, you just leave your video on and.
right. So the video is always operating, but you can see whether the person is there and every participant. So new number 2, each member appearing remotely shall have video operating at all times.
Perfect.
Good.
And then everything else will be moved down a number.
So does that sound okay with you, Luke?
Yep. Sounds great.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the second reading, this is the final, as amended, the ordinance relating to remote meeting of boards, commission, and committees or commissions, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are on to planning and zoning. We are on to the specific implementation plan for Dream House Design Center, 3600 Venture Avenue. Need a motion to approve.
Ramsey would move to approve with the 5 contingencies listed in staff recommendation, resolution of engineering staff recommendation, shown on plans that provision of responses to staff questions indicated in the landscaping plan, city engineering staff approval of stormwater management plan, lighting must comply with chapter 33 with all lighting fixtures and conductors located on lot 3. No equipment may cross the east property line without securing a proper permission and/or permits from DOT.
Need a second.
Olson, I'll second.
Any questions or comments? This is the development right behind Lexus. So this is, okay, any?
I had a couple of questions. Sean, the city engineering staff approval of the stormwater management plan, that will go to the Water Resources Management Commission too, correct?
This might actually be approvable at the staff level.
Okay.
So Eric will be taking a look at that.
Okay, can you explain when a review by the commission is triggered?
Usually if it's something beyond a fairly simple system that requires a policy decision.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Second question, how can there not be a loading dock if this is a showroom? I noticed, I think Daphne, I may be mixing
I'm
this
hoping that's not a city engineering question.
Yeah, I was hoping the developer.
Mark is still here if you would like my input.
Go
I
ahead,
would like
Mark.
your input.
Yeah, so I wondered that too, but they clearly stayed on the plans that they decided not to go with the loading dock. They do have a couple different doors to use, but they weren't planning to have a formal loading dock like we think of when we have a business with that accepts that sort of delivery. So I wondered that as well, but it's pretty clear that they don't.
Okay, and then my last question for whoever can answer is, who checks the light fixtures to make sure they're compliant? And if our lighting ordinance changes, will the building owner need to make changes as well, or are they grandfathered in?
Well, to answer your first question, we do complaint-based enforcement. So the developer is going to know the terms of the approval here, and they know that they need to comply with Chapter 33. So that's the first question. The second one is up in the air. We are working on our zoning code overhaul, which does have lighting as a component of that. And our consultant, Vanderwall, has started looking at our lighting ordinance. The question is whether we will have non-conforming situations allowed to remain, and we probably, well, that's to be determined, Lisa, but we likely will we have some general language being proposed that's going to allow non-conformities to continue and be legal non-conforming. I would like that not to apply to the lighting code. In other words, if a lighting fixture is installed and it was legal when it was installed, that's fine. But I want to make sure that we still have the ability to enforce light fixtures that were not legally, that didn't comply with our lighting ordinance at the time. So I kind of rambled there, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm working very carefully on language to make sure that we still have the ability to enforce the lighting ordinance based on the current language. But we don't want to give carte blanche to any property owner who has a light fixture currently that doesn't comply with the ordinance to be able to continue that in perpetuity. So that's something you and I should discuss as we go through the zoning code approval process.
Okay,
and that's something we should all discuss. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Any
that was
other
it.
questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the specific implementation plan for the Dream House Design Center, 3600 Venture Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We are on to item number 2. This is the specific implementation plan for Sola's Natural Barrier Preserve on Anken Road. Need a motion.
Ramsey, move to approve.
Need a second.
This is Fazard. I will second.
Any questions or comments from anyone yeah, go ahead, please.
I had a question. So the third bullet, we're looking at it. So the third bullet appears to have been, this is a moot point now, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that third bullet was looking at the AECom report, which was done in 2019, 2010, something a while ago. And then they had recently updated it, and that was included in your packets. And they didn't find any non-exempt fill, so all of those are basically addressed.
So do we need to remove that from the motion, or do we? I just want to make sure that it's understood after we're done here tonight that, a soil management plan is not necessary. So I don't know if the typical practice is to take that out or to explain that it's.
I would say there is still the unaddressed issue of the bathrooms. So our building inspector stated that they may need to have bathrooms in the shelter, just because if they're holding, funeral services or any events there, they may need to have a bathroom. And so at this time, they're still examining. So they don't have sewer laterals out there yet. So if they have a bathroom put in, they'll need to dig down a little deeper for a septic tank. And so if in case they do find non-exempt fill, when they dig deeper, that will have to be addressed.
So let's keep it in that.
Okay, so keep it in there. All right.
Okay.
And that was my next question actually was going to be, what happened to the bathrooms? But
Yeah, so that will be addressed. Before they can pull a building permit, they'll have to see if, the building inspector will have to look at it and determine if they need a bathroom or not. And at that time, they will have to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion to approve the specific implementation plan for Sola's Natural Burial Preserve on Ancan Road, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to the resolution. Item number 1, resolution 2023-14, changing polling place for wards 5 to 8 and 21 at the April 4th, 2023 spring election. Need a motion to approve.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
A second.
This is Vizard, I'll second that.
So this is simply going back to where it used to be. Any questions or comments?
Lori, did you have to send postcards out to everybody again to let them know? No?
They will find out, right? Newspaper. It will go in the newspaper, right? Okay. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion to approve the resolution 2023-14, changing polling place for wards 5 to 8 and 21 at the April 4th, 2023 spring election, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to huge item here, resolution 2023-15, authorizing the issuance and sale of $4.6 million of general obligation promissory notes.
I'll move approval as recommended by the Finance Committee.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? That's a lot of money, right? So any questions or comments? All those in favor of approving the resolution 2023-15, authorizing the issuance and sale of $4.6 million general obligation promissory notes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Only thing we wish that we had done that 2 months, maybe 6 weeks earlier. Resolution number 3. Resolution 2023-16, budget adjustment for Pheasant Branch Creek Trails and Bridges project.
This is Hanira. I'll move approval as recommended by Finance.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? I think most of you heard the discussion during the Finance Committee meeting. If you have any questions, this is your time. Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion to approve the resolution 2023-16 budget adjustment for Pheasant Branch Creek Trails and Bridges project, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Mark and Kelly, let's get those bridges made quickly, right away. So we are on to the last item, the committee appointments. Appointment of Jessica Regale to the Arts Commission. Is it Regal or Regal?
Regal. This is
Jessica
Olson.
Regal to the Arts Commission.
This is Olson. I'll make that motion.
This is Nelson. I'll second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion or the appointment of Jessica Regal to the Arts Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. And we need a motion to adjourn. Wow, it's not even 9 yet. So,
This is Hanira. I'll make that motion.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
okay, any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?